More African Americans are heading to college these days, but a new study finds that too many are in low-earning majors. A study by Georgetown University's Center on Education and the Workforce notes that African Americans who get bachelor's degrees in STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, can earn up to 50% more than those who are majoring in arts, psychology, or social work. The study found that African Americans who major in fields such as architecture, health, and business have salaries ranging from $51,000 to $66,000 a year. But those majoring in fields from consumer services to the arts make between just $42,000 and $43,000 a year. African Americans who majored in pharmacy, pharmaceutical science, and administration have the highest median earnings at $84,000 a year. Joining me now via Skype from D.C. is Megan Vasulis, a student study and co-author and a research economist with the Georgetown University Center on Education and the Workforce. All right, Megan, what's interesting about this is that, and I've always said this to people, stop majoring in stuff that, okay, you feel great about. Look at your major in terms of what's the job you're going to do, not just the major.
Yes. And that's definitely something that is not out there. There's not a lot of information on education and career pathways. So what major is going to correspond with my interests, but also lead to the better job that I would want.
And so when you look at, these majors, is it also because the universities that folks are going to, that's really what they focus on? And the reason I say that is because, you know, I went to Texas A&M University, did not have a strong journalism program. And there were people, when they dropped the major, there were folks who were saying, Roland, you should be a supporter of this. And I said, no, it was a smart decision. 2/3 of the people who were journalism majors didn't want to be in journalism. And so the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board made the argument that you should be choosing a college for a major. And so if you want to major in journalism, they said you should have gone to Sam Houston State, North Texas, University of Texas, University of Houston, or Texas Southern University, as opposed to thinking one school is going to give you everything. And that's one of the things that I think what happens. People are picking colleges versus picking majors. And is that a strength of that university?
That's exactly correct. Access is a big issue for why African Americans tend to be in these lower paying majors. They tend to go to less selective colleges, which don't always offer the high paying majors. So there's limited majors, limited course offerings. And I absolutely agree that that's another more information about majors, but also where these majors, what colleges these majors would be best to learn.
When we talk about, again, when you begin to break that down, what else did the studies show that jumped out at you?
So another reason for the lower paying majors is interests. Like you said, African Americans do appear to have strong community-based values, which is a very good thing. They are overrepresented in these service-oriented fields, such as humanities, education, social work, which, while they have pretty good job security, they don't tend to lead to higher earnings. But these jobs are vital to political and social movements in minority communities.
And also one of the issues, when you look at some of these majors for African Americans, are a lot of them government job specific, which when you look at cutbacks to government, which Republicans tout, that has a disproportionate impact on African Americans because we are more so in government jobs than other folks.
There's definitely a large percentage in public policy jobs. I can't really answer about specifically government, but I would say that definitely these community jobs such as public policy, social work, you do see a lot of African Americans.
And what would you suggest if there's a person out there who is a college sophomore, junior, senior, and looking at this study, or their parents, what would you tell them the process they should be going through?
Try to get as much career counseling as early as possible. I know that tends to be harder. And this is something that not only parents and students need to be trying to worry about, but schools, high schools, and college campuses should be trying to help students make these decisions with full knowledge. Students aren't going to college they're making decisions based on college and majors without this full knowledge. The government has been stepping in to build some data systems to get more information, but we need to get this information to counselors and to students and to parents.
All right, then. Well, Megan, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, I want to quickly go to our panel here. That last point is critical. Is one that I have made for I don't know how long, and that is you have to have people who are thinking about careers and not, oh, I want to major in this here. If you want to be a history major, that's fine. I still ask the question, what job are you trying to do? I mean, and so, because it's very simple. And then what gets me is, so if somebody says, I want to be a history teacher, or I want to be an English teacher, okay, not a problem. But I'm not going to advise you to go to a private university where your expenses are going to be a hell of a lot higher than going to a public university. I mean, that's the kind of discussions we've got to have with folks, because that dovetails directly with debt.
So, personal story. I actually was.
You were a history major.
He was a history major, and my mom actually had that same discussion with me. I went to go to the University of Delaware. I actually held back all my paper from all the other schools until I got my acceptance letter and packet.
So you want to go to the University of Delaware? Why?
Well, I love the school. I fell in love with the school. But my mom and dad wanted to go somewhere else. They'd had discussion. Said, look, you're going to be a history major or a political science major, and you're going to do this. Well, you can either go to UD and pay for it yourself, or if you want us to pay for it, you can go here and, hopefully you find some way to make money what you want to do. And I ended up, going their route after we had the discussion. But yeah, that's how.
But I think that young black students pursue careers with what they're familiar. Yeah. And so we see time and again that there are different industries that are not very inclusive, and just young students don't know about that. If you're a young person living in West Baltimore, do you know the opportunity exists for you to be an engineer at Google, one of the most highly coveted positions in the country? And in big oil industries even, that's something that's a very lucrative space. And I think NPR just ran a story this morning that they also have a diversity issue. I think less than 10% of their workforce, particularly in senior management lucrative positions, are not people of color. But you do likely have in your family educators, law enforcement officers, and even maybe some lawyers and doctors in a few different families, but it's not necessarily things that you wouldn't always consider as a career.
But here's the deal, okay, and this is the thing that I think young black folks need to understand when we talk about history. If you talk about 20-odd Africans arriving in America in August of 1619 and 244 years of slavery, then you had 12 years of Reconstruction, then you have Jim Crow coming in with the Great Compromise of 1877, and then you have nearly 100 years of Jim Crow. Then you have 13 years of the Black Freedom Movement, and so then all of a sudden, if you use King's death as the marker, 1968, Poor People's Campaign, Fair Housing Act, the election of Nixon, affirmative action being put in place with Arthur Fletcher, and then the first wave of black people going to corporate America, that means that black folks have technically only been free in America for 47 years. Absolutely. And so African Americans have only been free, technically, to go into a wide array of fields for only 47 years. And so you're absolutely right that we don't see ourselves in many of these fields, and it's because we were locked out of them for 351 years. But what has to happen, though, is this is where our organizations, fraternities, sororities, churches, 100 Black Men, other groups must expose next generation of African Americans to different careers, because if that's the only thing we know, that's what we're locked in. We got to have some real honest conversations with folks about careers. And I keep telling people all the time, don't just major in something. You better have in your mind what that job is, because when you graduate with that sheet of paper, that's all it is a sheet of paper. Joel.
Yeah, I was just going to say, too, one of the things the Lieutenant Governor did say that I did agree with was STEM and STEAM. He talked about investment in those programs, and I think that is critical for our community, making sure that African American students understand that there are opportunities in science, technology, math, et cetera, to build some of these careers that traditionally we haven't necessarily populated.
So we're going to follow up on that again. I discussed this earlier once we were on the show, but Verizon has this campaign that deals with this whole issue where they are showing next generation kids all these different jobs they never heard about. And so I was at a Silicon Valley conference a year ago, Culture Shifts in New York, where I saw it. And so we'll talk about that because, again, when you don't know, you don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when you are exposed, it changes your whole perspective on other careers.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh, my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong. He
Unfiltered.
wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.